This conference will now be recorded.
It's 2 o'clock. Call the meeting to order, and if we will stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Members of the committee, please keep the red button on the mic in the up position. When the red button is depressed, the mic is muted. And please do not mute your mics. For those attending virtually, please keep your mics off until you are ready to speak. If we see you have your mics on, we'll be able to turn them off from here. Please complete the request to address form located in the back and give to the manager facilitating the meeting. Audience members, please come forward to the podium and speak into the mic. Virtual members, comment in the comment section on GoToMeeting. Please identify yourself and spell your name for the record. Take the roll now for the record. Please turn off your cellular devices. And lastly, the trash receptacles are in the rear. Please be respectful of the boardroom and shared workspace. Thank you for your cooperation in this area. So, roll call. And we have Tom. Here. Murphy.
Here.
Tom. And we have Chris.
Here.
We have Dave.
Here.
And Gary.
Here.
And myself. Okay, we have 6. We have a quorum. And we'll move on. First on the list is public comment.
We do have Angela.
Okay.
I don't know if you want, did you want to go ahead and read this one? Sure. Okay. Okay, because I sent 2 emails. Oh, this one's on the tree. Angela Sullivan, Gemstone Court. I had sent an email to Stoneybrook Advisory Committee, letting them know that the previous vote on taking down a tree on Gemstone Court, that large oak tree in the cul-de-sac, has survived the hurricane. I'd heard comments previously before. I'm not sure if y'all saw my email. Did you get my email?
Yes, I got it.
Okay. So on the email, basically, it says in generic form that the amount of cost on spending for that tree to be completely removed and replaced, I was hoping that you would reconsider, because the comments that have been made by some of these committee members before said that that tree would not withstand a storm, and it did. So it's obvious that the tree was not properly trimmed over the past couple of years. So a lot of the neighbors don't even know that you're considering taking that tree down and spending $4,000 to $10,000. Can't remember all the figures. I'd have to go back through the minutes on that. I'm trying to think about saving money and also reconsidering the option of a tree that did survive a major storm that some of the committee members said would not survive a major storm. Yes.
Okay, well, I'll start out with comments first. This subject has been on the agenda for way too many months that we were going to do this. Funding was kind of a problem, but it kept coming up. It's been on the minutes. It's been talked about. So, most people knew this was going to happen. Whether the neighbors knew, I don't know. The tree was checked by the arborist from Mainscapes, who is a professional arborist. They're required to have one. In addition, Jim Kennedy had checked it. He's not a professional licensed arborist, but he is very well knowledgeable in this particular area. So there's been quite a few different things on, this and stuff. So if the residents, in my opinion, if the residents want to keep the tree, that's fine. We can table this for now. But if they change their mind, we're going to need an IOC or email from the Stoneybrook board requesting us to do this.
Right, so
Because I think this is part of what the HOA should be responsible for if they want to do this. You wait to the last minute. The only reason this is on the agenda now is because
it survived the storm.
well, no, because the Mainscapes raised their price.
Yeah, and I
So we
also
had to go
know
back
that
and
it's
do
been
that.
voted on, but I think after the storm, we can, maybe step back as
Well, we are going to, well, my opinion is
reevaluate
we'll
some
just move
things
the
moving
table.
forward.
Yes. I don't have a problem with that.
And the total cost of, I'm thinking, first of all, how can you save money? And the point of someone saying that this wouldn't survive a storm, and it did. And I hate to say it, but this tree was never trimmed back properly over the
Well,
past
I don't
years.
know. I don't know about that. It's going to get trimmed.
It's
here in
obvious.
about
It's in
3
the
weeks.
pictures. It was not trimmed back properly.
Well, I don't know that. It's probably been 3 years since it's been trimmed. Most oak trees go about 3 years between trimming.
So let me ask you, did your arborist report, do you have a copy of that
No,
that says?
I don't. We don't have. It was reported through
I'm concerned.
Mainscapes through Freddie, through Jim Kennedy, all said the same thing.
So my question for the arborist is he considering that a not storm-worthy tree, or is that a hazard under the ground?
No, it's a hazard that they feel there's a crack down through the tree caused by something, whether it be lightning hit it
Okay.
or some other stuff
So,
that caused it to crack.
I guess
I'm not an arborist.
Yeah,
I
I'm not
can't
an
tell you,
arborist
so don't
either,
ask me
but
questions
as a
about
homeowner,
arborists.
my guess is, moving forward, it would just be nice to not spend $5,000 to $10,000. I'm just thinking, instead of replacing it, why don't you just spend the money on a trim back at this point and let your
Well,
arborist
that's what we're gonna
reevaluate
do.
that in the next year?
That's what we're going to do.
Thank you.
We have Joshua tree coming in at the end of the month, and we'll make sure that tree
Hi, Chelsea.
is trimmed back at that particular time.
All right. And I did send in 2 other comments that I'd like to talk about. Was the slow irrigation leaks that had been reported by a couple of different neighbors on Pebblebrook for the past few months. This is prior to the hurricane. The amount of repairs, and I did receive a email back from customer care saying that these were due to damage caused by the lawn service that's hitting those sprinkler heads and doing the trimming. So I'm thinking, okay, does this committee have a plan on getting that particular company to reimburse us? Or is this coming out of who's paying for this? But this wasn't our mistake. This was a ongoing leak that was reported and fixed, and then broken again and fixed. It's fixed, but I just want to know where the money's going on repairs.
I can't tell you right off the top of my head. I know that Gateway was out there this morning fixing a leak down by Stone Valley Loop that was run over by a truck from Mainscapes, and Mainscapes will pick up the cost on that.
They will.
Yeah,
They will.
They caused
Okay.
the damage, and they'll
Just
do
want to
that.
make
We
sure
have
it's
some other
documented.
issues out there also, which we'll talk about later, that
Okay.
that have to get fixed.
All right. So they are accountable for that. The other one that I registered was for the gushing water on the 28th, immediately after the storm, was reported by a couple of different neighbors on Pebblebrook. We thought originally it was a tree down. I don't know if a car hit it, whatever. That was a serious 24 hours a
Where was
day
it at?
gushing on Pebblebrook,
Where?
almost to the left where the trees came down between Stone Valley.
That's the one they were fixing today. They shut that water off a couple days ago.
That was actually fixed around October 6th. The main one I'm talking about.
Well, this was done. This was the one done just recently, and that's the one they were fixing today.
Okay, I got a report that one was fixed around the 6th. So I was just curious, the amount of water gushing out of that thing for 24 hours a day, who's paying that money?
Well, right now, Mainscapes is still paying because they caused the damage, and we're going to be.
No, this is hurricane damage. This is the day after the hurricane. The one that I'm talking about where the big trees came down, this is hurricane damage.
Yeah, that was, those trees were taken off the roadway by Mainscapes.
Oh,
Going to be
okay.
picked up by FEMA.
Okay,
So not sure where
Thank you.
all the
I'm just
buildings
looking at
going. We're still
budget and
working
money
with Gateway
flying.
Services on that.
Just want to know where the money's flying and who's paying, and
Okay.
the neighbors want to know. Thank you.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Angela, I just want to say the reason that I voted for that to take down that tree, we were told it was a safety issue, that it could split and fall down at any time.
Right. I was at the meeting, I heard it.
Yeah, and I think it was like $2,000 some dollars. I don't think it was like.
I looked in the minutes and it's over $4,000 on replacing that tree, taking it out, grinding it and replacing
No.
things. So
Yeah,
it's in your minutes. You got to look at something that involves the tree on Gemstone Court.
The cost that we were going to be considering today to take that tree down, the total cost for taking it down and planting a new one and putting some other stuff around that area there was $2,700.
In the minutes, I had seen a couple of minutes back, not
Now,
September
a
prior.
couple
was
months
over
back,
$4,000.
It was $2,400.
Okay.
Because they raised the price.
I don't
up
have the
probably
minutes
up
in
to
front of me and I'm just thinking, why cut down a tree? Just trim the thing. You know, unless an arborist tells you there's something underlying.
We
You got to
consulted
go with the
a number of
arborist, you know.
arborists.
I'm not an arborist. I just want to make sure, just trying to save money.
Anyone else? Okay. Okay, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes from the September 14th, 2022 meeting. Everybody should have a copy of it. Any comments, corrections, additions?
No copy.
If not, a motion to
No
approve.
copy. That's all I have.
It is posted. We don't give out hard copies. It was posted in the agenda. It's right in front of you.
Yeah, it's on the,
We have the whole agenda packet and all of the accompanying
it's all
documents.
on the
So
website.
they're-
I read it this morning.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the financial, couple things. I did some checking on statewide security because they did not provide security for a week or almost at the end. And I see that Laura caught it all and had them resubmit their invoice, corrected that. Also on the right after the last meeting,
Double billing.
on the invoice that they submitted on 10/15, she subtracted $3,080 off that. That was for those things that they billed us for and should build the HOA for. So she took that off their invoice of October 15th. Or no, actually it was September's invoice. She took it off there. So in that respect, with statewide, we should be up and running.
And Warren, just for, I believe this is the contract, bear with me. I think they were trying to bill us for hours in advance. We do not pay in advancements, we pay retro. So they'll bill us for the prior month, just because, God forbid, if they go out of business, then we're out that money. So
And I think we told them that back when we found that he was doing that because we couldn't understand. He had a bill for, it was like a week ahead of time.
mhm.
So we had corrected that with him then, but I think that
Yeah,
I think
Laura-
it's the staff that's doing the stuff.
Laura caught it, so we're good to go,
Okay.
just so you know.
Yep.
Yeah, may I? Joe McCullough, Stoneybrook. Actually, we've found a couple other things too, and they did bill Stoneybrook for what you were talking about.
Yeah.
And it was paid. They were paid twice for that. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to make sure that you guys, did get that money back. We have some issues still we haven't resolved
Yeah.
with them entirely.
Okay.
Do not let them bill ahead of time. Absolutely. That's a
No,
little game
no,
they
that's-
play, and you cannot keep track of it. Things people don't show up, whatever.
Yeah.
Watch your overtime too.
And Laura watches that really close.
Yes,
She
yes,
does.
she's very
Yeah,
good.
I called for the report today just to check myself to see what they did, and she already had it corrected. Everything was done on it. And the other thing I had on this was under utility fees on the department, we had under utility fees for irrigation, our invoices were like from 2,000 up to 6,000, isn't too bad, but we had the month of June where it was 12,371. Yeah. And 8 cents. And I don't I couldn't find why it was that high. I was gonna check with,
You might know somebody that
Leslie.
could look into it.
Yeah, and we're gonna be concerned too about the one leak that we just fixed over on Stone Valley or on Pebblebrook.
Mhm.
That was running for about 3 or 4 days pretty heavily. I think I already mentioned that to Leslie.
Please make sure you send anything in
Yeah,
writing.
I haven't,
Okay.
I haven't got, I want to check on this too, so.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
I had one other one, because I also had the June utility program. There was a gate quarterly maintenance for 945. Are we doing a gate quarterly maintenance
I'm sorry.
on the gatehouse?
What page was that?
For quarterly maintenance for the,
It was under all the, like where all the gate
Is that what action?
problems
Yeah.
were.
Oh,
Is that what action? Action automatic doors?
I didn't print it out.
and should have
But
been.
I think we
Uh.
did do a quarterly, didn't we do a quarterly last February? Monthly ran out? And we switched over to the new company, to the old company?
Come speak
Yeah.
in the mic, please.
Yeah. Joe again. I'd be curious to see whether or not it was action, if it was something else. And that's one thing I could say. I do know that, we were getting rid of one and getting a new one. There might have been things that need to be done to get caught up and get everything working, but I don't remember.
Yeah, because it shouldn't be 945 a quarter.
It's a straight,
It should have been like
no.
945 for the year and you come out quarter.
Yeah, I agree. That sounds outrageous.
It says Stoneybrook Gate quarterly maintenance, $945.
Paid to who?
But it's the only quarterly one for the whole
Duracell
year.
Probably
in
annual.
March.
It's
So it's
mis-
annual?
Yeah,
So
possibly, the quarterly bills are paid,
might have been-
prepaid at one time ahead of
Okay.
time, yeah.
Maybe
But I
mislabeled.
don't know that factually, I don't remember.
And I also saw that June utility fee. Stood out.
Okay.
In revenues, did we ever get that $1,940, $43 from the HOA
The what?
Didn't come through yet. The reimbursement for the gate.
where the guy ran through the gate? And we,
Oh,
Double
I didn't check that.
1943.
How much was that?
$1,945.
Yeah, $1,900, $1,900.
1943.25. 75. Yep.
I forgot about that. I didn't look at that.
That was charged to you guys, I assume, and then, and we decided that
They
the,
billed both of us. Where a guy ran through the gate on purpose.
Yeah. His mother paid the fee and.
Back in
it went-
April?
I
A
think
long time ago.
You folks put it in your checking account then.
Early April, Angela. We got the check and deposited, didn't know that the bill was sent here. And then we got the bill and paid it. And then Eric questioned them and they said, oh, we got it right here. We'll send it back to you. We didn't cash both payments because
Yeah.
we're not due for both payments.
So did
Turns
you-
out that they cashed this one, didn't cash the HOA one. So I've been after Eric to find out what's the procedure. for
Okay.
to Send the money down.
Yeah. You follow up with Eric on that?
Yep, sending it right now.
Okay. 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 Anything else on the financials?
This is the form that you guys were looking for last month, right? Okay,
Yes.
all right.
And similar
My apologies.
thing. The only thing, revenues, I couldn't see if we got
Yeah.
1943.
I'll ask about revenues showing on this. So.
Okay, moving on to discussion items, the FPL lighting. Dave, you have any information on that?
Well, I have some.
Okay.
That thanks to Chelsea, we discovered that those tall pillars that were sitting in the divider on Gateway Boulevard are not something that we are paying for. Instead, we are paying for a total of 6 of the small lights that are similar to being on Pebblebrook Road, and that they are 5 of them to the right of our gate and 1 of them just across the street at the entrance. And there are a total of 6, and they are the small individual lights that,
Pedestrian.
are included in our total at whatever the amount is per. So the question that begs to be asked is, do we want to keep them, or are they serving a purpose? I think they're illuminating closer to the wall area, which is scalable. I've seen kids go over it.
Yeah.
And I don't know about the rest of Gateway, there's no lighting down there, but these 6 are strategically placed from 82 to the entrance, with one of them being on the other side of the entrance.
Joe?
Come. Thanks. Might as well sit here with me.
I'll give you a little history on that. That goes back to the original plan of the community to be one with the villages. The villages and us were the same. That road and those lights were all part of that one deal. So when the count was given, the count included in us. I do not believe those poles are on our property. I believe that's in the easement that Gateway has for the Gateway Boulevard. We shouldn't be paying for them. We've been paying for them. We also pay for the light over on at the sign. We've talked about that before at the monument out on the corner of 82 and Gateway Boulevard. And I believe they're all running off the same source of electricity, but I believe only we include the light fixture at the monument with our irrigation electric bill, which is further down on the other side of the fence. If you ever get a chance to look over there, there is an equipment and a meter over there, and I believe that's where that gets its electricity from. It almost makes sense that those poles do too, but I would think we wouldn't be paying electricity for that, because that should be included in the flat fees that we do pay. It's about $17, $18 a pole per month, I think, if I remember correctly.
I'm not sure I'm not sure, Todd. We're paying about $3,000 a month for the lights.
Yeah.
On that, so.
But the ones that are down there, we shouldn't be paying for. And if we are, then take them down.
The question is, do we want to keep those lights along Gateway Boulevard?
That's what I'm saying.
Are
Yeah.
they showing a purpose?
Agreed. That's the purpose of my report, is that they are not great lighting compared to the big street lights that are there.
Yeah.
They are situated closer to the wall that is built, separating Stoneybrook from either Gateway property or whatever. And they're spaced wide apart, so there's not a great deal of coverage much beyond 25, 30 feet from the light.
Right. And I think those lights were up before they put the fence up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In
So
fact,
the fence was just went up after that, and I think maybe we don't need those lights.
we
now.
put the fence up.
Yeah.
And we did that in about 2010, 2011. The lights were up there from day one. When
probably
before
were
turtles.
useful then. I don't think they're really useful right now, especially with the big lights we have out there in the center of the road. They got the LED lights in there. Those things just light everything up.
Yeah.
Up some savings. Yeah.
Yeah, we should stop that.
We can use the poles in the community.
Also,
Yeah.
I do have a
Yeah,
question
I
for
do.
Chelsea and you guys. The utility bills that you're getting, are you sure what's getting and what's in there? Is it broken down what it's for? Because remember, that's how we were paying for ADT, was hidden in the utility bills. Just food for thought.
Okay. So I guess we would probably need, at this point, Chelsea, would you need a motion to take those lights out as we go through our lighting program?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, so because those are FPL owned lights, we'll have to coordinate with them to get those removed. As you all know, they're in the middle of responding
Yeah,
to
well,
this disaster.
They're not
So
responding to
it's
light poles. I
correct.
found
That
out.
is, yes. So, but we can start the process.
We can make a motion on it now, so we don't have to come back and address it later. So we don't know. So, do we hear a motion to eliminate those 6 lights on the outside of our gate around Gateway Boulevard?
I'll make a motion to that effect.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I'm sorry, Dave. Okay, next on the list is the operation and maintenance agreement review and discussion.
Well, can we assume, before we move on to that, can we assume from the storm that the LED replacement thing is like on hold?
Yes.
Would be on hold, yeah.
Correct.
They're
The
not even considering poles.
Eric, the gentleman who we were working with, is literally at ground zero on Fort Myers Beach. So
Yeah.
he called, his partner called me this morning and said they, as a general FPL, even though they, like Zach was taken out of his area and kind of put back into normalcy, they're still on call for disaster. So it's going to be months.
I'd like to throw in my 2 cents worth on the FPL thing. We're still on that topic. There's a second part of the report I didn't give you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I forgot about it as well. One of the other tasks that was talked about at the last meeting was assessing the various color schemes that we have for all of the light poles within Stoneybrook and the condition thereof. Some of them are bright silver where the elements have just whipped the paint off. Some of them are in pretty good shape. Some of them have slobbers of dull green paint all over them that really, if you get up close, looks pretty nasty.
Yeah.
I have to apologize to the committee. I did not get a complete review done of the neighborhood. It was my intention to get it done before this meeting. But also the question that begs to be asked is if at some point during the future, either the company or us decides to attack the condition of those poles, there are such varying conditions there that we need to, I'll take 5 different photographs of 5 very different conditions. And the board will probably need to prioritize them 1 through 5 or 6 and say, let's do 1 and 2s first. Let's do 3 and 4s second, et cetera. Because you're not going to get all the light poles painted at the same time anyway. But it's a hard decision to make. I mean, you take a look at all of the varying conditions. And by the way, there is a new pole sitting in there on Pebblebrook that is metallic black. I have no idea where it came from.
But it looks nice.
It looks nice. It does, but it looks like a brand new pole. And it's metallic black and it's closer to the end of the stretch when you make that first turn and go down Pebblebrook, where they were working on that concrete area. There's a brand new pole there and it's metallic, shiny black.
And the ones that are the off color, you can see the fiberglass weathering and coming apart.
Yes, yes.
So the decision might be not even to paint that pole because it
Well,
might be
before the-
structurally compromised, you know?
Before the next meeting, I will bring you a series of photos, or I will send the photos to Chelsea so that Chelsea can then send them on to you. And you can take a look at them and come to some conclusions in your own mind. We can have a discussion, decide how we're going to proceed when the storm emergency is lifted.
I think the one information we had before was that FPL don't want to paint them and they won't let us paint them. But I'm hoping that with the emergence of the going to the LED lights and stuff and trying to make it cleaner, that they might back up on that. So it'd be good to have that information so that we can, when they say, hey, let's do this, we'll have the information ready to go. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
I do remember they said they were responsible for structural.
Yeah.
So anything that's coming apart, we should get new ones.
Yeah.
That's where I was going. Was anyone flabbergasted to see the one on Pebblebrook all bent over?
Yeah, there's about 5
The
of them.
only one.
now.
Is there a problem, and maybe Chelsea can reach out to FPL, bent over lights are still functioning? Does that
Still
create,
working?
yeah, does that create a problem, kids touch them, or I don't know.
I don't know either.
Is there a hole where it's bent, you know, the pole bent over?
I believe there is on the one on
there.
Pebblebrook. There's a split where it is pinched together, fallen, and there's a small split
So
there.
some of these ones that are down and still working might be a safety hazard.
I agree.
Yes, Mark. Sorry.
Just 1 second. For point of reference, any public comment, unless the board chooses to allow the public to come up and speak, public comment that's when the public would come up and speak. If you choose to allow comments as items come up, you're more than welcome to. But general ruling, they would
Okay.
speak during public comment, or you can add an item at the end for a second public comment. I know Mr. McCulca wants to
Okay.
speak at the end, but no, I mean, that's their meeting.
Go ahead.
I had
Trying to.
seen an email sent out concerning documenting all of the poles that are down. Has that been documented either by HOA or by this
We have
committee?
documented that with Public Works. I sent that email in to them with all the
Perfect.
signs that were down, the lights that were down and stuff. All that information was forwarded to them. They've got stop signs all up now. The light poles, of course, they don't touch those, but they've done a great job in getting those things done on it. Yeah.
I know since the hurricane, it's made it a little complicated. I just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure if you still needed someone to verify that list. The list is done on the FPL polls?
Yeah, I called FPL and got their email and they said, we are not dealing with light poles. So it's okay.
It's good, except if, to Chris's point, there might pose a danger.
I don't know. They weren't taking anything on the light.
And we have a little kid who sticks his hand in and gets zapped.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's right next to the walking path.
It is, it's right on the walking path.
What we'll do is, sorry, my brain has been fogged.
You've been busy.
We will take the report of any FPL polls that we receive, because we've got an inventory from Pelican as well, and we'll send it to our customer advisor that is for the district and put it in their hands. That way, hey, we've made inventory, we've made you aware, here's the list. When you get around to it, this is what we need repaired. And
Is
then
it
that way it
possible?
takes it off of us.
Is it possible, Chelsea, that we could identify one or two that may have cracks in it and bring that to their attention at the same time? That these might represent a potential danger and not just poles that are down?
We already submitted, I think, was there 4 or 5 poles that should have gone to FPL. Those are the ones that were down, bent over, twisted or whatever. The ones that are cracked, we couldn't tell cracks unless you go out and inspect every pole.
Right.
I think that's more an FPL project than.
Well, I agree to an extent, but a kid might make it before we get there.
It was 3 just on Bluestone. There's only 4 or 5 in the whole community.
You can send the list and we'll compile it and then we'll
Yeah,
pass it
if you
along.
have more, if you have some in your email, just email to me, I'll put it.
No, do not email to
Email it
Warren.
to
You
her.
email it to customer care.
Yeah.
Email it to customer care, please.
We'll learn all those rules yet.
I know, we'll get you there.
I gotta find out where it is because Eric was just telling me today, we met about 2 hours ago. He's getting a call from a resident because the pole that's down near the house and he hears it crackling and making noises. And
Has Eric tried to call FTNL?
I think he has, probably for the same luck there.
Just send it to us and we'll send it to the customer
Yeah,
advisor.
yeah.
They're not gonna come out. They
Yeah.
said it today. They've said it on their website. They've turned off the ticket holder thing. People are still without power, so.
So you got some, send it. over here.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else on lights?
No,
Okay.
sorry to interrupt.
Okay. Next topic is the operations and management agreement.
Warren, just letting you know, I have to leave at 3:30, but that's an hour,
Okay.
just letting you know.
Well, let's hope it don't go that long.
Never know.
Okay. Do you want to lead out on what
Sure.
you want to talk about on that?
Yep. I met with Chris and Mr. McCulka and discussed the O&M agreement. And I think we all walked away pretty clear that regardless of how it should or shouldn't operate or how it's not operating, whatever is in the books is what we should be going by. And if we don't like how it sits today, how the O&M sits today, let's amend it. And so from a district perspective is whatever is agreed upon, we want to make sure that we're following what is set forth. And again, as long as the HOA and the district can agree and come to terms with regards to updating, if, for instance, considering today's market, if 2 months worth of funding isn't sufficient because the cost of everything have increased and maybe we need 3 months worth, that's fine. Let's sit down. If you want to assign somebody to take lead to work with the HOA on amending it, or if we're fine with leaving it as is and just working towards implementation, I'm good with that too. So just again, from the district's perspective, what's on the books, that's what we want to abide by. Tell us what's on the books.
Comments, people have read it?
What's the turnaround time on reimbursement?
Uh,
2 months might be great, but if it takes 6 weeks to get
Hold on.
reimbursement, then you're
It's called out in the agreement, and I believe it's 30 days.
It is 30 days.
Give me 1 second and I can tell
They do
you.
it by direct deposit.
Yes, it says, within 30 calendar days of the district determining that a payment request is sufficient, complete, and accurate, will remit to the association an amount up to 1/2 of the retainer amount for the valid, verifiable, and appropriate amounts previously paid by the association to vendors and other parties. So 30 days, which is standard. That's standard operating practice for.
Yeah, I'm just thinking if you go through the first month and you use X amount of dollars, you submit it at the end of the month. Now you're starting the second month and you're getting things done. By the time you get the payment for the first month, the second month is over and you've almost had money already. So you're
Well,
always going to be a month.
Yeah, and
Realistically,
well, and that's why Pelican, they requested a higher retainer amount because of just the cost of things that were going on. They weren't able to do everything that they needed to do, and funds were getting low, but Laura has a very good process in place when it comes to checking the reimbursement process package submitted by Pelican and then submitting for the reimbursement. And that would be the same setup with you all based on the existing agreement as it sits.
And I think, we need to probably go through and readjust some funding. But I think to get it off the ground, the 2 months might be a good place to start, because it's not going to be that difficult to come back and say, it's not happening with that 2 months, we need to increase it, but at least give it, to get the
It's
program
a starting point.
Yeah, be a good starting point. Yep.
Quick question. I'm just curious, has the board been presented this package yet for review?
No.
Okay, so
No,
how
no,
can we
actually-
start it
Actually,
if,
it's there now. I don't know what there is for us to bring to the board, to the board of directors.
I was going to say, please clarify what board you're referencing.
Yeah.
well, this is a committee.
Yeah.
The board is the HOA committee,
Yeah.
not the board.
The Board of Supervisors.
Board of
for this-
Supervisors, yes.
I think
Yes.
personally, I think with Chris and yourself being in the meeting with Chelsea, I think it would be more apropos for you two to bring this information to the board and say, this is what Gateway Services wants to do.
Yeah, well,
The
I,
advisory committee's not mentioned in this at all, so, I question how much.
such an agreement, in my opinion, at least should be between the HOA board and the
CD.
Board of Supervisors.
Right.
And that should be reviewed and before implemented.
Right.
I don't know that how much Chris has seen. I haven't seen the latest proposal myself yet. But
I don't, what,
There's,
Didn't I scan it to you? No?
I don't
This is our
remember.
last meeting?
there's no proposal. It's just the existing contract
yeah,
that's
the
in place.
existing agreement that was signed.
This is 2012. This is from 2012.
October
Well,
4th.
2000. That's why I say
2012.
some of that needs to get changed, but I think it's good to get it implemented now. And then as we work, as we work through it, we'll see where there is, because we really haven't put a lot into it, because there's a lot of stuff in there that the board has to do.
Okay.
Now, I will say one of the comments that did come up and was raised as part of our discussion was the benefit that the district and the community has if the district's purchasing materials and things like that, where we have tax exempt status and the HOA doesn't, there is that, 6.5% added benefit if it sticks with it at the district level compared to the HOA level. But again, I go back to, I'm looking at a 2012 agreement that's in place. We're not following it. No, nothing on anybody. It's just, okay, either let's implement it or let's edit it to put it how we wish to see it.
The
And
one concern I have with it, in making it function, probably more personal opinion, I don't think Castle should be involved in handling these funds. Because I'd be concerned that Castle would take these funds and move them over to the East Coast, and that would cause more time delay and
well,
stuff where it
let's-
was handled.
Let's
One
not,
of-
hold on.
I'm
Let's
sorry.
not confuse, because as you sit up here as a member of the Stoneybrook Advisory Committee, you are looking at the best interest of the district's assets. Okay. Now, the agreement is between the district and the HOA.
Correct.
Okay. How they choose to manage this agreement is on them.
Okay.
Our concern stops with this agreement with the HOA. So,
Okay, well,
and we're
I'll
only
express my concern as a resident.
at their board meeting, but this,
His
we,
board
Joe
meeting.
knows my
His
opinion
board
on
meeting.
this anyway.
so
Yeah.
this is only concerning GSCDD assets that are within the Stoneybrook community.
Now, I do like some clarification on that because there are assets that are not included in this agreement. And sometimes I'm afraid that becomes a very gray area.
Which,
We don't own the pipes under the ground,
oh,
drainage,
That's-
sewage lines, the lakes, the flowway.
Joe, that's very clearly laid out in
Okay,
this
but
agreement.
sometimes I understand, but when people spend time in our community, I'm a little concerned about where they are charging it to. And I think
Yeah.
you can imagine what I'm talking about here. In any case, yes, there are assets and basically it's the road, the easement, the right of way, the cul-de-sacs. And beyond that,
I know the agreement prohibits the HOA from dealing with the lakes and ponds.
Cliff Note version, the HOA's responsibilities per this 2012 agreement is budget, minor capital repairs that are less than $5,000 annually. You have to present by May 15th budget a CIP that does not include a management fee. Roads, sidewalks, access control, parentheses, gatehouse, entrance monument, and landscape. The GSCDD responsibilities include lakes, flowways, street drainage, culverting, drainage control structures, preserves, or conservation areas. And that's laid out in this agreement.
Yeah.
which brings me to the next point. The way this committee is structured is that you guys can't get together and get these things done.
That's right.
And it is a restrictive thing. You
Right.
can't function. That's one of the reasons I asked a while ago about Pelican, how they do this. And they said they use work groups. The work groups can work together. Now I understand that's not the interpretation.
No.
I don't know what they're
They-
doing. I don't know how you'd be able to handle some of
They
these
can-
things in this committee.
They, in the resolutions, they're making subcommittees. But the subcommittee, like us, the subcommittee here, we are still to the CDD rules and regulations.
Which is the sunshine law that the
Yeah, sunshine law.
state law.
And same way with the HOA, any committee within the HOA has to comply with the HOA rules.
Yeah, which is not sunshine law, but
There's
that's,
no
a-
sunshine
it's
law.
a different type of law, much less restrictive. And allowed, we can set up committees and handle things, and
Yeah.
those people can work as a group and go out and inspect a few
Yeah.
people and make things happen. You can't do it. I don't know how you're going to manage that and then throw some of the responsibility on Castle. That when you say, don't let Castle handle the money, but they want Castle to do the proposals and the requests for proposals. They want to get out of that business. And that's what they used to do for us in the past, although it wasn't always that way. Remember, the 004 fund didn't always exist. This committee did not always exist. It was done for another purpose.
Right.
It grew into this for various reasons that were beneficial to
And
us.
I think, getting into the operation of it might be beneficial to the point where we'll see where the lines are drawn and what has to get done, because I question if a lot of the stuff is going to be able to be handled within the HOA.
Well-
I would think it would be, because if it wasn't under CDD, it'd all be on the HOA anyway.
One of my concerns is the HOA budget is not set up for doing things the way you're thinking about doing them. And especially the additional staff time to do proposals and such. We don't have it in our budget. And I don't know if that's something, how you're going to resolve it.
I think the budget would have to be, as long as the CDD is collecting the tax money, that budget would have to be separate from the HOA budget. They would have to, you'd have to submit that, because the timeframes are different too. So unless it goes back to the original agreement where Stoneybrook was also collecting assessments. But this agreement
specifically states you cannot collect assessments for work to be done is part of the gateway assets. So we can't collect money there in the HOA be used on the roadway.
And I think that the clarification of that will need to be addressed. And I do think that's a weak spot. I agree. I also want to plant a seed, and I know some of us have had this discussion, but something to think about is, do we want to maybe pull this committee back into the HOA? And by therefore relieving you of the responsibility of having to adhere to the sunshine law. Something to think about.
Yeah.
Okay, just want to plant that seed. All right, thanks.
Thanks, Joe.
Any comments from Tom smiling?
Remember when Joe was on the other side of this?
Yes, yeah. Tones change pretty quick, don't
They
they?
did.
Okay. No other comments on this then?
Just a quick question.
Sure.
What, if any, involvement will we have in the development review, whatever you want to call it, with this document? Should we have some?
I think we should have some, because the committee has done a lot of the work that the HOA probably should have been doing or started to, and we finished up and stuff on some of the projects we had. But again, there's nothing in this document that says anything about the advisory committee, and our resolution kind of addresses just as an overseer of the way the funds are going, as long as there's no core fund, checking that and making sure that what comes in here from them is in a concurrence with what the CDD will, kind of a buffer before it goes from the HOA to the.
As a new guy, I just get the feeling we're somewhat disjointed. And I don't know how to point a finger at fixing it at this point, because I don't have enough experience.
Let me help with that.
Yeah.
So you have had the chance to read this document, okay? Some of you may wish to make some changes. Some of you recommend to make some changes, because ultimately this is a GSCDD contract and the Board of Supervisors would have to approve it, as well as the HOA would have to approve it. If you go through this and maybe you assign a point person to look at this in depth and maybe highlight some changes that you think need to be made, or maybe we just say we leave it as is. Both parties have agreed to it. Regardless if they agree to it now, both parties have agreed to it. It's an existing contract. Next steps would be implementation. And I think that is something it would be have to coordinate with staff. And again, maybe assigning a point person to be that communicator between staff and the HOA on how to make this come to fruition. Alternatively, the next, if we said this is valid, we're good, we're running with it, it would be, next step would be to how to implement it, but also looking at your existing resolution where your roles and responsibilities as a SBAC, tweaking that to reflect and match this agreement. Because like you said, it appears that a lot of responsibilities that Stoneybrook Advisory Committee has taken on really should have been covered in the HOA as part of this agreement. So we would amend that. The board would approve that amendment, and we would move on. And then this board, as an SBAC, or maybe the recommendation from SBAC to the Board of Supervisors suggests that staff takes on the GSCDD responsibilities and SBAC is squashed. Those are things to consider. Ultimately, this is an advisory committee to the Board of Supervisors. You're looking out for the best interest of the district's assets within Stoneybrook, and they're going to look to you for your recommendation. So that's kind of how I would foresee next steps.
I have one problem I have is having a point person from here work with the HOA. One person.
It cannot be more than one person.
Yeah, good. can we check with Tony? There
I'm
must be something in some.
No, one person. Sorry.
Joe, trying to- Because
That's why I keep
now,
saying.
well, then the question would come, then if there's one person
Working with staff,
working,
which would be myself, since I
Okay.
am your staff liaison, working with the HOA. So the three of us, if it's Joe or if it's Chris with wearing the HOA hat, I don't know.
that can happen. He can wear the HOA hat.
That was the question I was going
It's-
to ask, was if he's sitting on this board and he's part of those discussions.
That I will have to,
Yeah.
I would rather, I
With
would,
the three of us, her and I, and one of you.
yeah,
and-
I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say it would have to be somebody else because,
Or it would have to be Chris,
or it,
because there can't be another representative if Chris is in the room. If Chris is there as the HOA, but he's also part of this group,
he can't because,
Warren can't be there.
correct. So
it has to be Chris.
someone else from the HOA would have to,
He's a crazy.
so someone else from the HOA would have to be there.
All right, yeah, it just seems kind of silly.
Yeah, well.
Well, that's
we've
what
been through
happens when
these
you,
wars.
when you have an HOA president on, and vice versa. So it's,
I think he's an asset to this committee as the HOA president, but that's just me.
or it could be me working directly with Chris. And you guys all provide your comments as a collective body in a publicly advertised meeting like today. Provide your comments page by page, and then we could go back working
Oh.
one-on-one.
So yourself and Chris, and just as a example, hope not, but Joe, that would be a decent group.
Sounds like you're volunteering somebody.
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to say, if he.
If that is who the HOA designates for us to work
maybe you
with,
three that would work on it.
whoever the HOA would
Okay,
designate.
okay.
I'm not gonna tell them who to pick, but
Okay.
I would be the staff
Yeah.
person working through this.
Okay,
And Laura too, because she would be doing the financial side,
Right.
so.
right, okay.
If I had to guess, I would say the lawyer's going to say Chris needs to recuse himself from both. If I were the lawyer, that's what I would think.
Now, when do we need to pick this person?
Can't wear two hats in the same meeting.
I mean, the sooner the better, as long as this, I mean, if this agreement stands and you all agree to the terms that are set forth and you don't want to amend it, knowing that the HOA has to agree to the amendments, then we move forward as is and work towards implementation. So, I mean, there's some logistics on the HOA side that they would have, I mean, they like setting up an account. But from the district standpoint, I mean, it's pretty streamlined. Their responsibilities are X, ours are Y. We'll set up the ACH for reimbursement, training, showing the expectations to the HOA of how Laura wants to see the reimbursement packet submittals. That'll come with time, but and then the HOA and how they handle
Their stuff,
there's our stuff on our behalf, that's on them.
okay. So, okay.
Our agreement was with HOA.
Right,
HOA
right.
handles XYZ PDQ. I'm not going to tell them how they should handle it because the agreement clearly defines that they're handling XYZ PDQ.
Okay. Comments?
I'm still liking bringing this experience and expertise back to Stoneybrook as a committee, so we don't have to deal with the nonsense. And 2 or 3 people can talk if they have to. Because otherwise, like Joe said, we're not going to get anything done. And it's going to be a ton of work. I mean, we have to establish a committee there anyway to be overseeing this particular thing.
Well,
That's up to HOA.
that's up to the HOA.
Sort of. I hate to throw my 2 cents worth into it, but if Chris is an issue participating with 2 hats on, how can we as a committee participate on an HOA committee with 2 hats on?
Well,
No,
we would have to
this
go
committee
through
would go
this-
away.
As soon as we started that committee, this one goes away.
Right.
And now
Okay.
those.
All right, if this one goes away, I understand
Yeah.
fully, but I didn't hear that part.
If I make another committee Monday night, we make a different committee, it can't be any of us,
No,
because our people can't talk.
and I firmly believe that if this agreement is implemented and worked the way the agreement is put in, we really don't need the advisory committee.
It almost
Because
Well-
that's my personal opinion.
Well, keep
Because
in,
I think things can be handled one way or another through the HOA, but
keep in mind, the district still has the lakes, flowways, street drainage, culverting,
right.
drainage. I mean, granted, we have staff, but that's gonna, then Stoneybrook, the 004 is gonna have to pay for that additional staff time
No.
for them to
No.
oversee that. So,
Pay-
I-
pay
it's-
without- it doesn't pay.
I see
Warren,
what you're saying.
on-
Yeah, that,
okay.
yeah. But I say, that was always kind of a thing that I thought would be, but again, we've not really implemented that to its full extent as a HOA.
Correct.
And I think once we get into that and get moving along, and then with our resolution, I think everybody has a copy of our resolution for the advisory committee. If you don't, let me know, because I can email you one.
No, you
Or I
can't.
can email it, I can email it to Chelsea or Georgia, and they'll send it to me.
Send it to Jordan. She can
Yeah,
disseminate it to
and it's the
everybody.
latest one, because there's a big paragraph in there that kind of explains our function, and our function really is, I think would work out in this particular.
Okay.
thing. I don't, and again, I don't want, because I've been studying this for a couple of years. And I think that, I think we need to go with it for now. And then as time goes on, make the adjustments necessary as we see how things work out. I think, because until we can function with it, I think that's going to be a problem.
So I made a little cheat sheet for myself of the to-dos based on this agreement. Pat myself on the back, because I read this about a month ago. So the to-do would be to update Exhibit B if necessary. Make sure that the HOA has a separate checking account, because that, and they have to show proof. We made Pelican show proof of a separate checking account.
We need a check. We don't have one.
Well, okay. The 2-month retainer. And then the 10th day of each month, the HOA would submit a reimbursement, and the GSCDD would submit the money within 30 days, the reimbursement. And then the last thing is the insurance with GSCDD as an additional insurer. And so that was my quick, to-dos to get this thing running.
And Laura would help them set up the financial aspects of it.
There would be no financial. It would be
The checking account and all that.
that's the only HOA is to do a checking account.
Oh, okay.
Now the ACH transfer, that would be coordination with Laura and their bank or whomever, their treasurer at the HOA. But it would be a one line item reimbursement. And again, the submittal package would have to be comprehensive like we expect from Pelican.
Now, in this aspect, it would function the way the HOA functions, but would they be required for three proposals, follow-up, et cetera, before?
This agreement says the HOA handles that.
Okay.
That can make it easier too.
Yeah, oh, yeah, no question, yeah. Okay.
Now, good practices is 3 quotes.
Yeah, I think
Or at least to show the attempt at soliciting additional quotes.
Of course, my lifetime is just strictly, everything comes in three proposals, and you look at that and you move on from there, unless you can't find 3 proposals.
Correct.
On stuff, but that's the way I've always,
Yeah, we usually do it once it hits a certain dollar.
Yeah. But-
We're
but I
working
will-
on implementing that at the district, a procurement policy.
Whereas it's hard, it's been difficult in the past 6 to 9 months to get 3 quotes.
Well,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Sometimes it's even hard to get 2.
Yeah, oh, yeah, real. And
But-
it's gonna get harder now because there's so many people working, that it's
And
just
they're
hard
all
to get a
and
land.
they're all gonna be working on the island.
well, to that point, one of the, when requesting quotes, hey, I need it done within a week's time. If they say they can't meet it within your time frame laid out, then, you made that attempt.
I think we need like what I'm harping on, RFPs and scope of work, so everybody knows exactly what the guidelines are for whatever they're gonna do. So I think most of us agree with that, so.
So this is in effect now, really.
Technically, it
It's
is.
just not being followed.
Correct.
And now all we're doing is we're just being told, well, we gotta start following.
Yeah, you got it, yeah.
And then going down the road, if we need to, well, even if we're gonna change it, it's still in effect until we do change it.
Yeah, sure, yeah. It might come down, we might say you need more, definitely more than 2 months, because it depends on the project, the way costs and stuff are going up, it's ridiculous how. And I don't know how much that operational money will be for 2 months.
Correct. I guess they would set that.
They would set.
Because it would take 6 months or a year of actually paying and back and forth before they know what the rate figure is.
Correct.
Okay, any questions, comments? Do you want to let it go as it is right now? As a committee?
Well, I think we have to.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a choice. It's a
Well, I mean, as
choice.
far as, approve it now so they can move on to the next step of implementation.
Well, I don't necessarily know that there's an approval, but no recommended changes at this time, and work towards implementation. That would be the direction.
Okay.
One comment real quick. Don't point at him. Remember how many times I used to go to board meetings and say, this is an advisory committee?
Yep.
Final decisions are made elsewhere. That's always been my position. We can advise the board, this is what we think we should do. And the commission through Chelsea, and recommendation to the board of directors here, supervisors in that case. But be careful, this should still be discussed by the board because someone's got to do all this work in the HOA. And that has to be set up too. That's it.
Well, I think Chelsea's made, it's up to the HOA as to how they want to implement it on their level. I think we have a function to buy our stuff to oversee and watch the money coming through the 04, making sure the 04 is being spent properly, et cetera.
I think Joe's point was that he feels that, and don't let me put words in
Go
your
ahead,
mouth,
I'm listening.
is that the board ultimately has the final decision.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, in this case, this is a contract that's been in place since 2012.
Yeah.
The board has signed it in 2012. HOA signed it in 2012.
Joe Tarja resigned it, as I recall.
Yeah,
So,
it was.
Yeah.
But again, if there are recommended changes to be made, your recommended changes would go to the Board of Supervisors to work with the HOA, and then they would have the final approval of any recommended changes. But
And they may
Maybe
have
we
some
don't even
themselves to
have to make a-
recommend.
Recommendation, we could just leave it go as that and let the HOA start implementing, so.
yes, correct.
I got a nice gift for my treasurer now.
Mhm.
Do you have room on your plate?
Okay, any other questions or comments on this? Just gonna let it go from there, we'll have to make any changes on it, recommend any at this point in time. Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to designate somebody to work with staff on getting this implemented? Or do you just want, we'll handle it just as
I
long
think
as.
we need somebody on there.
I have an idea.
You can't.
I know I can. I'm not the idea, but I have an idea. You're
He's
my
busy,
idea.
I know he's busy. With the lights
You're my idea.
and roofs, lights and roofs.
You're a
That's
good
big.
number man if you want it.
Yeah.
That's just my
Yeah,
opinion. Not a slight to anybody else.
no.
He's not that big.
Anybody else
The only thing I was
interested
thinking-
in being on that? I think we need to have a representative so we get a report back monthly on what's going on and stuff. So we
What about Tom that's been here for years?
Tom,
No.
I know he, Tom,
Chelsea, do you know if we can have a backup?
What do you mean?
In other words,
Nobody
if
wants to
Gary
work.
is the primary, could there be a second person? who
I'll
stays
do whatever
abreast of
y'all need to
communications,
do.
and
I
then
don't
if
mind.
Gary's
I'd
unavailable
Be happy to help.
to participate, then that
Whatever way
person
I can.
can step in.
You can, it's just cleaner if you designate one person.
Okay, I understand that.
Gary?
Gary, you got
Gary?
voluntold?
Gary volunteered.
Gary's on,
Yeah.
okay,
Voluntold, Gary? All right.
Thank you, Gary.
okay.
So maybe,
Been told I volunteered.
so we'll set some time up, maybe next week and coordinate with the HOA and find out who their designee is.
Okay, it's good. Okay.
I just got confirmation from Eric that the CDG got
Wow.
$1,943.25.
When did they get it?
I don't know, I asked him, I said, I'm gonna need.
Yeah, so we can follow up on that, yeah.
Signage.
Okay. Okay, going into the signage review, the Board of Supervisors approved to move forward with the signage. And then the hurricane come along and took down much of our signage around the traffic stuff. And we have 4 or 5 stop signs that were destroyed. We have a bunch of other signs that were destroyed. And there's going to be some purchasing of some signs, et cetera, et cetera. All the signs are in place right now, even though they're high, low, or whatever, they're still visible. And I would like to propose that we not rush to buy signs until after the study's done, because if we buy signs now and they come back and say, well, no, actually you need a 3-foot sign now instead of a 28-inch sign, then we'd be buying again. I'd like to just postpone buying anything new, because those standards for those signs are about $2,000 a piece, roughly, with all the stuff. So I think we could just leave it as it is, and then when we get the study done, we can see where we have to change or whatever, then we can get those purchased wherever we have to. Some will be repaired. Another thing also, as I mentioned, the sign, the poles, they look nice. They're extremely expensive. And I said 2,000, but I just picked the number off the top of my head, but I think they're pretty close, pretty close. And it comes down to, do we want to spend that much money for signs? Can we, back off and get something less expensive and still not upset people in that? And I think that's something that we can think about and look around. There's other sign posts out there that would be less expensive than those signs. Because once those signs get broke, I don't know how much we paid to have Crooked Creek sign that went down?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that took forever to get fixed. And it was a couple $1,000 to fix it, one sign.
Well, the only thing we have to keep in mind is that if a storm came through and knocked them all down, then yeah, you can go with a new one. But you don't want to have 6 of this kind.
Oh, no, we'd have to change them all. And a lot of the ones that weren't knocked down, there's several of them that need to be fixed anyway, because they're broke inside. Anyone you see that has a piece of silver about like this, that's broke inside. That whole thing has to be rebuilt. So a lot of those things would go that way, and they need to be, they haven't been maintained or done anything with them in 15 years until they get broke or knocked down and we get a new one. That's why you see a couple of different shades of green out there, is because we've had to change them. So again, it's not one of those decisions I think we have to make now. I think the only decision we need now is just the fact that we're going to wait until we get the study done to see what we have to do to, if we have to do anything. If we don't have to do anything, that's fine, then we can just go forward. But I hate to spend a lot of money on these sign poles and signs, and then all of a sudden, the guy comes in, well, the 2008 change is this and this and this and stuff. So we'd end up having to redo everything we've done right now. So, and I'm not sure when he's going to be able to start that. Again, hurricane kind of put a slow speed on a lot of things.
How can you do the study when half the signs are laying on the ground?
Well, they got them all up now.
Did they finally
Yeah.
up?
Yeah, they got them all up now. Yeah, all the stop. The only one stop sign that's a little low, but if it's there, it's in the right spot.
It's a little low.
So, And I don't think there's a whole bunch, that we can do about that. We can put it up higher by just putting it like we do over on Bluestone, that one stop sign that's on just a one pole. If necessary, if that is a problem, just put it on a regular pole until we decide
We
what's
know
going
it's
on.
gonna fail. So we can wait for what the guy says, and then you will pass it once to get it up to speed.
That's kind of my thought, is wait until we get that study in and then decide what we're gonna do and what we have to purchase, so we're buying the whole thing. So it's
We don't
all
wanna
the
have to,
thing.
we don't wanna have to fix it twice.
Yes. Anybody have a problem with doing that at this time?
I do have,
If you have a problem, Joe,
no, it's not a problem.
at the last time you get.
Has anybody looked into insurance coverage for any of this, storm coverage?
I don't know. Do we have insurance on those things?
We've got the compiled list.
We may.
We are reaching out to the Lycans vendor, and the other vendor, a guy that stopped by who does comparable work. And we're gonna get an estimate first. I've held off on making any claims because the damages that the district has received thus far has been nominal, but knowing the preference of our street signs and poles, I have a feeling it's going to warrant a claim with our insurance.
And
So
Lycans sky high in prices. I think
Yeah.
they've got a monopoly on a lot of things, and I think they take advantage of that
Yeah.
monopoly.
So what we're doing is we're gonna get all of our sign needs and get a price, and then make a decision from there with regards to the claims.
And this is one of those times that being affiliated with Gateway can work to our advantage if we were to work with them when they do that. But we should be looking into our own insurance too. I'm not sure. I know we don't cover trees and plants and all that sort of thing, but I think some of the street signs in a hurricane, we may get it.
What church do we have?
It's like a comprehensive type of policy when we have insurance. Not everything's liability. We do insure our assets.
Yeah, but these aren't our assets, are they?
Well, the light poles are, we do pay for them.
We lease them. They're not-
No, I'm not light poles, misspoke, sign poles.
Sign poles.
And also, I do want to say that most of the poles that are broken were broken by Mainscape.
Yeah.
And we really should be hitting them up for some of that. I mean that, really.
You see little marks and scars where they're.
Oh, broken. That's where those silver pipes come from. And I do want to say one thing. We have done work on those poles in the past. When Mike Tisch was here, that was the guy before Brian. He actually did go around. We evaluated our sign poles, repaired some and got some new ones. We did. This is not the first time in 15 years. But it's amazing, but they get broken and they do age in the sun.
Mainscape wants to keep our business.
I know, I
So
agree.
we own the poles and the actual
We pay for it, yeah.
octagonal signs
Yeah,
are
we own
owned by the
everything.
district. That's what I'm hearing?
District owns them. Why would they not own them?
We own the,
They own,
They own the roads, they own the signs. They pay for the signs. Well, we pay for the signs, but, we pay, or the 04 fund pays. I try to
the
stay
04 fund.
away from what Joe says, but, we pay for, through the 04 fund. We don't, Stoneybrook don't pay from the 04 fund, pays for them.
welcome to the district.
The issue there, they just.
Joe, come to the mic.
Yeah, there's no,
I was just saying, how do you insure an asset you don't own?
Told you to sit with me.
You're right. Here's the problem. Whose money is it in that 004 account? Everybody in Gateway is going to tell you it's their money.
yes.
And everybody up there is going to say, wait a minute, that was our money. We put it in there. So that's always been the issue. And that's where the question of semantics comes into play. Whose money it is.
The district's money.
Yeah, see?
And if.
It is the district's.
Joe describes it one way, I describe it another.
How you cut the pie, it doesn't matter. It's the district's money.
That's,
The district collects it.
if you look at your,
So the district has insured insurance that the signs are covered for.
I have to go back and look at our policy, which we just renewed literally right before the storm to make sure that this was covered. But I would anticipate so, considering the number of signs that we have throughout the
But
communities.
the unit holding the
The
sign,
pole and the sign, all inclusive.
that the
Mhm.
district owns both.
Yes.
own everything.
That was turned over to Gateway
Yeah, long time.
supposedly when the roads were turned over. A subject to be discussed later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really?
it's, okay. So that's what we'll try to do that and work with Chelsea and the CDD staff on the signage and stuff, so we can make a decision. Hopefully get that report going pretty quickly. We got 16 minutes. I got 16 minutes. I've only got, the only other thing I've got here that's on the agenda is, oh, the landscaping. I'm sorry, landscaping. Well, the one landscaping thing is to put, since we're going to table that, I did, I brought in a couple pictures of some damage done on the roadway going into Bluestone and over on,
Bluestone, yeah.
yeah, this is Bluestone here, and this is over on Pebblebrook where the damage was, and this is where they mainscapes and all. What I want to do is forward this information to Jim so he can get with Mainscapes and see what it's going to cost to fix this. This stuff is really tore up, and some of this stuff is we're going to watch and make sure it's paid for by Mainscapes, because some of this damage here was done by Mainscapes when they were over doing that. But I'll just submit them the pictures and the request, and hopefully you get something in 30 days. The reason we were going to bring the other one back is that they raised the price on that tree stuff by $275, so we're going to have to bring it back. It seems Mainscapes is going to hold us to the 30-day. If we don't make a decision within 30 days, then they have an option to raise the price. So they raised the price on that, and now we're going to disregard it right now. Not going to do anything with that particular proposal. And I'm going to move this on to Jim, and then we'll get the proposal hopefully by the next meeting, and then we can move on it at that time.
So,
I'll get this to Jim.
Just moving forward in the future, if you have pictures or things like that that need to accompany the item, get those to us in advance so that way we can get them on the
Okay,
agenda
Okay, I
as
just
support.
got these.
Yeah, as supporting documentation. That's with any agenda item. If there is supporting documentation that will be referenced, we want the public to have just as much access as us.
Okay. And the last thing is the tree project. I talked to Joshua Trees yesterday. Finally got them after a week and a half, trying to run them down. They are about 3 weeks out from coming in and doing our trees. We have a lot of other things that have come up since that time. A purchase order has already been issued for them to do the trees for $56,300. But there's some other stuff that needs to get done. Their contact person that I've been working with, he's going to come out between now and then before they come. And we're going to walk around and pick out the things that need to get done that probably wasn't on the proposal. We have some stumps that we have some trees that need to get cut down and some of that kind of stuff from the hurricane. And then we'll get a supplemental invoice or a supplemental proposal to do that stuff when they come in. And once we get that, it might not be too much, because I think we're going to balance out, because a lot of stuff was trimmed out. And yeah, and stuff, and there's a lot of stuff that's gone. They're not going to have to travel a lot of stuff. So, but we'll work with them. We already got 56,000 in the pot, and we'll see if we can, how much less we can, or how much more it's going to cost us to do some of them other trees. Yeah.
I don't know how many trees we lost that were just ripped out of the ground, but it was like $285 a tree. So I think that it ought to be reduced a little bit.
Well, I think with, by the time we count the trees and some other stuff that really wasn't counted, like the tree on Gemstone, I don't think that was counted into that aspect that was supposed to be gone by 2 months ago. But we're going to look at that. And if, because with some of the stuff they have to go, because they're going to have to chip some stumps out and things. So going to wait till we get that cost and then balance that out. And hopefully we'll have something by our next meeting for approval for whatever extra funds we have to have. So there's some trees, but there's a lot of work up in some of those trees right now. I see that with around Stone Valley Loop too. We have our tree people coming in to clean that out too. So That's the latest. It's gonna be about 3 weeks before they come in. And start their work. Okay, subcommittees don't have any. Member items and reports? Nope. Tom?
I had Eric check today. We're still on schedule for November 2nd. Put a slider.
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised. I'm like, let's see how far out this is gonna be now.
I see it.
He just told me like 2 hours ago before we started.
Yeah, me, yep.
The other thing is, do we want to look into, because we probably should, or maybe something's gonna happen, I don't know. Street sweeping? I know I spoke to Flavia last Saturday and she said she had already arranged hers like a week ago, either just before the
Yeah.
storm or whatever. They're gonna sweep now. I know Magnolia Lakes, they own their roads, all that kind of stuff, but they come and they pick up all the stuff, but there's a lot of mess.
We had
left down
touched
there.
bases on that a little bit, and then Mainscape's out there today and took all the leaves off, which is gonna save money, because I was concerned with all the leaves we had, they'd be dumping their load about every block because of just so much stuff. But I think we need to do that, and I'm not sure if.
For the district, we have a plan to street sweep as required per our NPDES permit. But it's a moot point, because if the county does come to a second collection, which typically they do, we want to wait till the debris gets off the road. There's no point in sweeping and then just sweep, doing it
Yeah,
again.
my only concern is even watching the rain that we had the other day.
Mhm.
I'm watching the stuff float
Yeah.
down, and I know where it's gonna go,
Yeah.
and then we're gonna have clogs and
Yeah.
floods.
Well, they did a pretty good job today, blowing that stuff off of there. They did.
Brothers are pretty good.
Yeah, they did really good job. They did.
So
And the Mainscape did.
we're staying on top of it, because I mean, we have had some rains, but yeah, that's the plan, is to have the street sweeper come in after.
Okay, good. All right, that's all I have.
Chelsea,
Yes,
I put in 2 requests for items to be put on the agenda. Basically, you said no, that I have to bring them up under member items.
correct.
Why can't I put things on the agenda?
You have to, because there has to be more than one person that brings items up. The same situation is happening at the board level. The board operates a little differently than you guys do. But so what you would do is you would bring them up right now. And if you got a second, voice that said, yeah, we want to discuss this, or we want to talk about this, then it would be set on your next item, or you discuss it right now in the open.
Okay, one of the things I wanted was updated status on contracts we approved. The status on them, are they done? Are they gonna be done? The second one, I've heard
Well,
different rumors.
Who are you expecting an update from? For those projects?
Well, like, okay, sidewalk trip hazard. They got paid, I assume, but there was a deal with the vendor that did the work. How did it get resolved? I don't know.
Okay. Do you,
Or like,
That was paid.
yeah, but I just mean anything like that, any project we approve, like he just talked about the door for the gatehouse.
so I think a process moving forward, and again, it's not just this committee, it's Pelican as well, and some of its subcommittees, is it kind of turns into pointing fingers. Okay, this person's waiting on you, this person's waiting on you, and nobody's taking the lead. So I think moving forward, I think that's like Dave took and he reported back. If you designate somebody and you guys approve a project, you designate somebody to follow up and report back. I think that's the easiest thing. But with regards to like the financials, I mean, granted, last month you didn't get what was supposed to be had, but you could have seen on this month's financials that we paid out that contract, Copeland. But I think moving forward, you guys designate somebody and to have that follow through and follow up.
Now, I get a copy of all the purchase orders. And I make a copy of them. I keep them, I keep track. The only ones I don't get a lot of is ones that go to Mainscapes. They go automatically to Mainscapes because they're little stuff. When I get the financials, and I go through and check the ones for Mainscapes, make sure that they've been done. The other stuff, I keep them and I keep track of them. If someone else would like to do this and do the, that's fine with me. As a point person to keep track, if someone would like to do that.
I am not a financial guy. I'm sorry.
Me neither. I can spend it, but I have.
But following up on that email that you had sent, I did ask Laura, and we only had, I think, one outstanding purchase order from last fiscal year that hadn't been paid out. So, I mean,
Which one was it? You recall it?
I'll look back in my emails and let you know. I think it was a tree or something.
Well, that's when we tabled today.
Okay.
Yeah. we tabled that.
But I mean,
Okay.
I think that could be an internal process here that, you know,
That's it. I keep a copy and I keep track myself.
the HOA does it, then
Yeah.
they should have a,
If you get in trouble and the HOA does it. That's it. So,
Okay, my other one, I don't know if we have time. I hear rumors of what Stoneybrook pays in to like the 01 and the 04. Is it like 700 and 500? Approximately. Like each house pays about 1,200 bucks in. Is that correct?
it depends on if it's a single family home or
Yeah,
or
single
a
family.
yeah, okay.
Now, the rumor I hear, Pelican, what do they pay into the 01 and the 02?
Okay. I don't know that they pay. I don't believe they pay into the 00. I don't know what 002 is. But the 001, I think, is
well,
the
that's their PPC one. Isn't it?
their
Yeah.
money goes into theirs. There's a percentage split. It's 59, 14, and whatever that other difference is. But that's a Laura question because she's my numbers guru.
I've heard it's vastly different than what Stoneybrook pays. I was wondering the reason why. In what direction?
Because there was an interconnectivity rule that was implemented in circa 2006 that they don't benefit directly, like for instance, the pool. They don't pay to help maintain the pool, and they also don't have access to the pool. They don't get access. If they wish to use the dog park, I believe they have to pay the non-resident fee. The soccer complex, I mean, that's a whole different ballgame. That's open to the public, but they would, I mean, if they chose to rent out the soccer complex, it would be a non-resident. So Pelican doesn't pay generally, and I can get Laura in on this conversation next time if you guys want to have that, but
just curiosity.
yeah.
Yeah,
There's a big split. It's like 59% goes to utilities, 14%, and then whatever that other percentage split. It's yeah. But the interconnectivity rule is what's separated, which was adopted, like I said, back in 2006, that they don't pay and they don't receive benefits. So because they're not directly connected to the rest of Gateway. That's my understanding in the 5 months I've been here.
Yeah, that's pretty close. Soccer fields are public. So about the only advantage we have is the pool.
The pool.
We're paying all that money.
And the
for
dog
pool
park.
And the dog park.
Yeah. And I believe they fund their own ponds over there. So. But I will say, they themselves impose a lot higher fees than you guys pay. I think they do like close to like $1,200 per single family home. So.
You talk HOA or?
I'm talking the district. So, but I mean, we could pull one up and look at it. But if you want to talk, yeah, if you want to go into details, I definitely suggest you talk to Laura. She's been here 2 years and knows this left and right. She's the budget.
There is a sheet that does put out that breaks it down, and there's 3 different classifications over there. One of them pays full for a bond for the roads, and that's still being paid, where everybody in Stoneybrook paid the bond off when they bought their house. The other one pays a hybrid of the bond, and the final group doesn't pay anything. It goes right in. They've accumulated quite a bit of money, and I know some of them that if you told them it's Gateway money, they may not react very nicely. It's about $6 million over there.
They did, but they increased their rates years ago to anticipating large capital investments. So, but I am learning that there are a lot of intricacies here. The different categories with the assessments, like the waterway management compared to like the roadway compared to like general. I mean, it's mind blowing, truthfully. But Laura can literally go in knee deep with you and give you the whole details and background if you're interested on it. So I know.
Yeah.
So
Okay, don't tell her it's 3:30. Don't get us to down there.
I'm sitting down. The only other thing is the connectivity thing. They fought tooth and nail not to let that road go through the back entrance
Yeah,
for that reason.
okay. Dave, you have anything?
I do not.
Okay. On my agenda, I can't find it. On his agenda, I can look at it. And the set next meeting agenda,
So is there anything you want to take off of the letters or add for next meeting's agenda? Well, FPL is probably in limbo, but we can leave it on there. That way it stays on your radar.
tree project. And we probably should have the signage review again too, because hopefully we'll have more information on that. Anything else anyone wants to? The financials, get the financials, do them.
So,
Okay. Yeah.
okay, so then this will be
Anything
your,
else Anybody have up the, what's the drop dead time for agenda items for?
you set your agenda now, because then that gives us time to work on whatever items that you put forth. Otherwise, you bring it up at your next meeting under member items and reports.
Okay.
If you'd like Laura to come in and do an example, like a explanation, I can see if she can come to your next meeting. And then I mentioned before, it's a new fiscal year. What we're going to do is get you guys the financials and show you what budget line items that you guys can work out of and what line items you cannot touch. Utilities being a perfect example. So we're 12 days into the new fiscal, so just we'll make sure to get it to you for your next
That
meeting.
might not be a bad idea, is have Laura come in and go over something.
Absolutely.
Go over that stuff, 'cause we don't have much of agenda. We don't have much of agenda for next time.
Well,
It might be a good idea.
Okay, I'll coordinate that with her. She's gonna love it.
Okay. Anybody got anything else? Next meeting is scheduled for
Second
Wednesday of November.
November 9th.
9th?
Yep.
November 9th.
Early one.
I need to put that down. Okay, do you hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor?
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Only 2 minutes fast.
I know.